Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the tentative budget hearing that we're having tonight on September 8th, 2022. Glad you all could be here tonight to join us in this. It is our custom to begin our meetings with an invocation and a pledge, so if you'd like to join me, I'd ask you to rise at this time. Lord, thanks so much for letting us gather together on this evening to conduct the business of our community. Lord, we pray that you would give us the direction that we ask for. Lord, that we would approach tonight's decisions trying to do the best we can do for the most people. We know this process is, we never make everybody happy, and that's not our intention, Lord. We're just trying to do the best job we can with the tools given to us. But mainly, Lord, we just thank you for letting us live in such a beautiful place, for the great resources that you've given us, letting us live in a place where others come to spend their vacation. And so tonight, Lord, let us enter in to do our business and do it in a way that brings honor and glory to you. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It's not on the agenda, but I assume we need a roll call.
This is a tentative budget hearing of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners. It's the 8th day of September 2022. In attendance are Chairman Ronald Kitchen, First Vice Chair Ruthie Slaybaugh, Second Vice Chair Holly Davis, Commissioners Jeff Kennard and Scott Carnahan, County Administrator Randy Oliver, and Management and Budget Director Colleen Scott.
Thank you very much. And as our practice, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Oliver for his last and final budget presentation for Citrus County, and ask him to go through what we're going to try to do tonight. I will let the public know, if you're following on the agenda, when we get to item B4, that's when we'll listen to comments and questions from the public in regards to what the presentation before we move forward with any action. So, Mr. Oliver?
Okay, I need to go through some formalities because the state specifies that we have to do things in a certain order, and I'll give the explanations at a later, slightly later in the presentation. Florida Statute 200.065 requires that we provide the name of the taxing authority, which is Citrus County. The aggregate rollback rate would be 7.2074. The percentage of the increase over the aggregate rollback rate is 13.64%. The tentative aggregate millage is 8.1907. The calculation of the aggregate millage is calculated as follows. County taxable value $12,186,249,455. Tentative millage is 6.5057. Taxes levied $79,280,083. Transportation taxable value $12,186,249,455. Tentative millage rate 0.7860. Taxes levied $9,758,392. Health taxable value $12,186,249,455. Tentative millage 0.0614. Taxes levied $748,236. Library taxable value $12,186,249,455. Tentative millage 0.3147. Taxes levied $3,835,013. Fire, and remember this does not include the two cities because fire is only applicable to the county. Unincorporated areas, $11,024,884,994. Tentative millage 0.5780. Taxes levied $6,372,384, for a total of tentative millage 1.2458, and the taxes levied 99,814,108. Okay, this is the recap. This is not off of the state script, but just a recap for the board and the public. What the board direction was, the rollback rate is the rate that we would collect the same amount of money that we did last year. Obviously, that can't happen. And the reason that I say that is because with inflation, wages go up, power bills go up, and everything like that. So the board, according to prior direction, directed the rollback rate plus 5% for inflation. So that would make it 7.6172. My personal opinion is that the state should have factored that in to the rollback calculations, because to believe that I can operate my household on the same amount of money that I did last year isn't realistic in the environment we operate. As we previously stated, LifeStream, the contribution that's required under the state formula, the state mandate, requires an increase of 0.05 mils. EMS, as we've said all along, is 0.2 mils. Road resurfacing, the board said that they wanted to do 0.2 of a mil for 5 years to make it so we had the funding to resurface roads on a 20 to 25-year cycle. So that's 0.2 of a mil, and then the amount that was agreed to give to the sheriff was 0.1786 to fund the salary increases and the things that the board decided to do within the sheriff's office. Total millage again is 8.2458. So at this point, Mr. Chairman, we're ready for any budget discussion and the public hearing relating to this budget that's required by law.
Okay, and again, I don't know if the public has a copy of the agenda or not, so I'll just recap it. The purpose of this meeting tonight is the hearings are primarily for the purpose of explaining the budget, proposed tax levy, and any proposed amendments, as well as afford the general public the opportunity to participate in the budget process. This is, tonight kind of is the wind down. We started this, I believe, in, I want to say June, July,
Well,
May.
We submitted the final budget in July, but the planning process actually started like in March.
Right, so we've been working on this all year to get to where we are tonight. Just so I can explain a couple things to you, the tentative millage has been set. The millage rate cannot go any higher. That can't happen, okay? Millage rate can go down based on any discussion that the board and action that the board takes tonight. So anything that we discuss tonight has to be able to be financed, budgeted, and paid for under the tentative millage that has been advertised. As I said, it cannot go higher. So, and then Randy's already told you that. The one other item on here that wasn't discussed is that the proposed tentative aggregate millage rate of 8.1907 is a 13.64% increase over the aggregate rollback rate, which he explained all that too. And the proposed tentative millage produces $99,814,108 in ad valorem tax revenue. Some people always say, well, that's only $99 million. Well, I thought the county had a $200 or $300 or $400 million budget. That does not include items related to utilities and enterprise funds and those types of things. This is the general fund budget that we're talking about here with transportation, health, and these other items that were listed. So with that said, board, you want to have any discussion, or you want to go right to public comments and then have our thoughts and motions to adjust any proposed tentative millage rate? What would you prefer? Go to public. Go to public. Everybody's good with that? Okay.
Right here from the public.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open this up to public comment. If you've been here before, you know how we do this. If not, I'll remind you quickly. When you come up, you'll be given 3 minutes to make your presentation. And we ask that you fill out a green card before or after you speak and give it to the clerk. Please give us your name when you come up so we know who we're listening to. And that's really about it. We just ask you to be nice, state your case, and we'll move on. Also, just so you know, we don't respond to each individual speaker. Once we finish public input and we hear what the public has to say, then we'll go into our discussion. At that time, we'll most likely respond to what the citizens had to say. So, first speaker, please. If you would, Mr. Hinkle, Doug, could you set the thing, the timer up there? And
Green.
I'll remind everybody there's a timer in front of you. I believe we're giving you a 1-minute notice. Is that correct? And so if you watch the timer, you won't get caught running out of time. So I hate it when people don't get to finish their thoughts. So kind of be attentive to the timer. Yes, sir.
Mine will be quick and easy. I'm Ken Hinkle. I live at 1027 North Short Line Way in Cambridge Green, Citrus Hills. I'd like you to consider adjusting the budget to increase the septic to sewer contribution for the residents there. Most of the, probably 60 to 70% of the residents out there are retirees on fixed incomes, and the actual cost of them is going to be about $6,500. So I appreciate you reconsidering that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next speaker, please.
My name is Ken Ferguson. I'm from Floral City, and I had the gentleman to our right provide you some handouts prior to the meeting. What concerns me about the budget is not this year's budget, but is these graphs showed where I fitted a trend line to the budget. In 7 years, our budget is going to double. That's the prediction of the trend line. That may or may not happen, but anybody knows that doubling rate in 7 years takes 10%. So that means the budget's going to go up in 10% every year from now to the next 7 years unless something is done. And that's my concern, and that's what these graphs show. One of them shows the trend line fitted, and the other shows the prediction of the trend line. Okay, further, I would like to congratulate the commissioners, clerk of the court, and everybody that has prepared the information that's in the budget. That is one of the best budget reports I've ever seen. I'd like to compliment Colleen Scott for that. For you, I've already told her that myself. This county has got one of the best tax appraisers, tax collectors, clerk of the court, and GSI system of the some 7 or 8 counties I've looked at in Florida, except Lake, and Lake is not far behind, and I'd like to congratulate you for that and the budget you prepared. I think it was well done, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, but I do have these concerns about how it's growing, and it's not yours. It's been taking place for the last 7 or 8 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have the next speaker, please?
Yes, my name is Mary White, and I live in Homosassa. We've lived here 37 years, and we've always loved Citrus County, but I'm here about our police department and our sheriff. We feel like, we all want to be protected in our homes. We want our children, even though my daughter went to LaCanto from 0 through 12th with no problem, but times have changed. We don't want our kids dodging bullets. And I feel like the sheriff's job and his men and women are the most important job of this county can have to protect everyone. And, I feel like that if he needs a little bit more money for uniforms or weapons or dogs or whatever he needs, this is the right thing to do, people. So, I hope you take it under consideration, because we all live here. We want to feel safe and sound, and when we go to bed at night. So I appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to the next speaker, please.
Yeah, John Woods, Citrus Springs. I was a former deputy in one of the largest growing counties in north of Atlanta in Georgia for many years, and I saw firsthand witnessed how that county grew exponentially, and then how the crime rate grew exponentially. So we need a larger sheriff's budget to fight the crime that's going to be coming our way as the population grows, Because as you well know, not everybody is going to be a good, fine citizen that's going to be moving here or coming here. So I urge you to accept his budget as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Belkin. I'm the president of the Beverly Hills Civic Association, and my community has more than its fair share of poverty and crime. Every community also has their share of crime and poverty also. But I'm also a retired police officer, detective, and for those that aren't aware, it's more than just eating donuts and drinking coffee. These guys are out there, these guys and girls. They're out there, and you never know if a traffic stop is going to be the end of your day, or a family fight, or a traffic ticket. And surrounding counties, unfortunately for us, are luring away our deputies. So our sheriff is training our guys and girls. They're getting the training, the experience, then they go to another department to make more money. So unfortunately, for the taxpayer, it's going to cost a little more, but it's going to ensure our safety. So I do hope that we're able to help the sheriff's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak?
Hi, good evening. My name is Martin Shepard. I live in Lecanto. The reason I came here is I wanted to speak on behalf of the sheriff's budget. I think he's put forth a very transparent budget. I think he's laid out exactly what he needs. I'm retired New York. I worked for the New York City Police Department. I was a police officer, and I was a police officer assigned to the detective division. And I worked there during a crucial time when the police were given the financial backing and the political backing, and we were able to create a renaissance in New York City. And New York City literally was a phoenix that rose from the ashes. Now, that's not the situation here. As you said, Honorable Mr. Kitchen, in the opening remarks, that we thank God that we live in such a nice place. We thank God that people come here as tourists. And I like to keep it that way. And I think that I'm woefully unprepared, and I apologize today. And I didn't know what I was going to say, but it was your invocation. And when you thanked God for what a nice place, what a safe place it is, it's exactly your words. I'm paraphrasing. And that people actually come here as tourists. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And I didn't know what I was going to say, and that's what I'd like it to sum it up with, that part of your invocation, which, I'm sorry, to hit the nail on the head, to keep that part of the invocation alive is to fund the sheriff's budget. But then you did say that the millage has already been set. So when you said the millage has already been set, my heart kind of sank. Does that mean that Martin Shepard's wasting his time talking? I don't know. So that's all I have to say. His budget's transparent, and I'd like to keep your part of the invocation alive. And to everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak at this time?
Hi, my name's Diana Bolas. I moved here from Chicago, and the reason everyone left Chicago is their property taxes went up so high that no one could afford to stay in their homes. And it's really sad because everyone is leaving Chicago, and a lot of people moved here. And what I don't want to see is that happen here. And so we're kind of at a funny time right now in the housing market where prices are now falling, which I know nobody wants to admit, but you can easily go on like Zillow, and I'm just going to give you like a couple examples. There's a house at 127 Hambletonian Drive in Inverness. This is a 4-bedroom house with 3 baths. It has 2787 square feet. They've been trying to sell this property since July. They started at $549,000. They had to lower it to $544,000 and then to $529,000, and now it's down to $500,000, and nobody has purchased it. No one's interested. And the part I want you guys to just consider is thinking outside the box. Because when you have a flood of properties going on the market and they won't sell, then everyone starts to decrease their price like they did in Chicago just to get out. And at a time when the property tax appraisers kind of appraising things, I would say, on the high side because the values are falling. And then you guys hit us with a rate increase on top of that. It ain't so welcoming. So I just wanted you guys to think about that because it makes a big difference. You'd rather have, you know, happy people in your county who are joyful to pay their taxes that, you know, are fair and just. But, you know, you have to understand too on this market, and you can check it on Zillow. You can look at all the properties that have been sitting there for 4 and 5 months and all the people that are decreasing their prices 50 grand at a time, and they're still not buying them. So it leads to a crisis. And in addition to that, there's more people listing their houses. And those aren't selling. So we're like at the, we've already passed the hump and we're like right here. We're on our way down. So just please think about that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Samantha Foster. I live on South Oakview in Floral City. I've been doing research for the last 3 years, even before COVID started, on where I wanted to live in Florida. We picked Citrus County because my husband and I both grew up on dairy farms. We had to sell our farm in New Jersey because taxes went skyrocketing. And then we moved. I had an investigation company. I worked on the sheriffs, from, you know, rescuing animals to, you know, finding people to serving papers to repossessing cars. We then moved to Maryland. COVID hit. I lost my business that I was moving to Maryland to enlarge my company and put all of my savings into. Couldn't even serve divorce papers. I moved here to help my children, be closer to family and freedom. And now we bought a house sight unseen. We love our house. We love the freedom that everyone has on our street. I do not mind people having boats and trailers and trash and, you know, what they think are their goods in their yard. I don't mind that because that's why we moved to Citrus County. We absolutely love the freedom that everyone has here. But my taxes now, since I have moved here a year and a half ago, have now went from $1,500. If I didn't have my homestead, that would be well over 10 grand. And just as of last week, I have a picture of a gentleman walking towards all of the bus stops, 8-something in the morning with an AK-47, shirtless. Guess where he lives? He lives in the woods because he was evicted out of his house. We have 30 zombie houses in a mile radius of my house. I have had video cameras of these people walking in my property, clipping my barbed wire fence. I have drug sales going on down my street. Do you know how long it took the sheriff's department to get there? 45 minutes. The guy was already gone. I do not feel safe. And not only that, the bus didn't show up that day. And I didn't get a phone call until an hour and a half until after school started. We need to work on putting more money into these bus drivers that should be making an actual over $20 an hour because they are driving our precious cargo to school. I don't need to follow the bus to school and see its back end going off the side of the road because there's some incomparable person driving. And then...
Your time has expired. Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time?
I'm Ken Walters. I live in Lecanto. I'm a homeowner in Crystal Oaks, and I'm the president of the Crystal Oaks Republican Club. Commissioner Kitchen was a speaker at our club in March. The reason we started the club, we wanted to get to know the candidates. This is an election year, and we had most of the candidates from the county, the state, and Congress come and speak at our club. One of the main questions we asked all of them was how they felt about law enforcement. That was a key issue for us. That's most important to us. I'm a very strong supporter of law enforcement. And the lady was just up here, she mentioned that it took them 45 minutes to get there. Well, that could be because the sheriff's department is understaffed. Now, the sheriff has turned in a budget of $39 million, and we're hoping, the taxpayers are hoping, that that budget gets approved, because the sheriff takes time to determine, he's got to look into the future. He's got to see what type of crime we're going to have in the future, not just in the present, what he's got to have to keep his promise to the voters, to the taxpayers in Citrus County. So, again, I'm here in support of the sheriff and the sheriff's budget. I think a lot of people that are here that are not going to speak are also in support of the sheriff's budget. So, we'd like you to strongly consider passing the entire $39 million budget. Okay? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Deborah Gilmet, and I am from Lecanto. I am ex-military lieutenant colonel, and what I'm talking about here is the police budget also. We need to make sure that we have qualified people who will be on our police force. We need to keep our wages comparable to what Ron DeSantis raised the wages of the state police to $50,000. They're going to be taking all of our people. People are trying to get workers, and we train them here, and they go somewhere else because our prices are not comparable. I was also a nurse. We had the same thing happen at my hospital. We would train people, and they would go to a bigger hospital because we weren't paying enough. You need to keep your well-trained personnel, just as a police officer is trained, a nurse is trained. You don't want those trained people going somewhere else and you get the bottom of the barrel. You want people who know what they're doing and can protect you and show up at a
Please speak to the board, please.
I'm sorry. Speak at a time, come in a timely manner when they need to. So if you don't have enough officers, that is not going to happen, and you're going to have what happened to this lady here happen. And there are a lot more homeless around here that we've noticed too, that I've not seen any carrying an AK-47, but I've seen a lot of homeless that are trying to get in different places. So I think we need a lot more protection in this county, especially with the Suncoast Parkway coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Good evening. I'm Bonnie Pike, and a retired school teacher, very proud to be a Citrus County citizen. And I'm asking you to please support the sheriff's budget as presented. When I was teaching, the main thing that we were charged with was the safety of our students. And I feel that government's role, the main role, is to help keep its citizens safe. So we know we're short deputies. The sheriff's doing the best he can with what he has. I'm really proud to be from Citrus County. I'm proud of our sheriff. And he's written quite a detailed budget, well thought out, and please support it as it's written.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Tammy Fields. I'm property owner, retired here in Florida. And with the increases in the taxes going up, I feel as homeowners, they really have gotten astronomically higher. I want to see our law enforcement be increased. As far as I'm concerned, school teachers, a lot of our people, our staff, our medical, like to see that happen. Except for I hate to see the property owners being taxed so much to do so. I'm asking, are there other areas that can be helped and brought that out to increase that? If it's out of public building or where Citrus County's building another building, if that can come from that. I haven't researched that enough to really know. I came at the last minute because of the storm, the runoff, and the taxes going up, because each one of them is going up about quite extensively on each property. So I just wanted to say, please consider that, because the taxes are going up so much for each one of us that are owners of those residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Hello, my name's Tammy Whalen, and I understand I'm here to speak in favor of the sheriff's full budget. I got to listen to the entire thing at the last budget meeting. And as a fairly new resident to Citrus County, I came from Canada, where we have a lot more taxes. And as far as spending the taxes, how the money is spent, I don't see how. I mean, I know that you've capped the, what's it called? We don't use it. Yeah. But even if it has to be taken from somewhere else, it seems like that's something that, in order to maintain our property values, even if the taxes are going up a little bit, it just seems that if we don't have that protection in place, in strength, the way he asked for it, those were humble requests to just catch up. Almost everything on the list that I heard. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak at this time?
Good evening. My name's Alan Otis. I'm from Inverness, just down the road from here. Been here 7 years from New England. You guys might have already heard that before, because I've spoken to you a few times now. I came here because of the opportunities in Citrus County, the low taxes in Citrus County, the low crime in Citrus County, and I brought a lot of members of my family down here, and they're still coming down here. But I want to say this. I told some people I was going to come here and talk about the mill rate and the taxes going up in Citrus County, and you know what majority of those people said? You know exactly what they said. You're wasting your time. Then I read in the paper today that Mr. Kitchen here has basically pretty much made up his mind what the budget's going to be. So are we just a technicality? Because we are the people that elected you folks, and every one of you folks ran on a conservative agenda, a conservative Republican agenda. Now you need to decide where you're going to spend that money. Now I agree, when people come here, they want low taxes. They also want low crime. And our deputies and sheriffs do need to have competing funds so they're not leaving this county. But you've got plenty of money coming into this county. I'm a developer. You know what developers do? They take the land that nothing's on, they create a home, and now your taxes go from a couple of $100s a year to a couple of $1,000s a year. I've been asking the last 3 times, how much more money, Mr. Oliver, have we received in the caucuses over the last year with all the impact fees and all the development that's been going on? We've got a lot of businesses coming into Citrus County. You want to know why we've got a lot of businesses? Because they look at the population growth, and they see that this is a place where they can make money. And they hire people. They come here because of low taxes and people coming here. You want the people from Chicago, New England to come here, mostly conservative? Then you got to keep the taxes low. Here's my taxes since 2017 on one of my properties. $808 in 2017, $1430 in 2018. In 19 it went to $1618. In 20 it went to $1724, and last year to $1910. In 5 years, I went from $808 on a piece of property to $1910. Are you not raising my taxes? Are you just saying, oh, well, your property value went up? Well, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. If the values go up, then rollback. You guys talk about rollback. I don't even know what that means. My taxes have gone up. You need to lower the mill rate, and you need to find the money to take care of the sheriff's department, because I tell you what, if we have a good sheriff's department and the crime is low, people will continue to come here and bring their tax dollars. That's what you want. I do see waste, though, since I got another 20 seconds. Here's the waste I saw. one of our council members here, or commissioners as we call them here, received over $300,000 for a 1 acre piece of property. I've got an acre and a half on the corner of 41 and 491. That would be a great place for a Dunkin' Donuts. That's worth $300,000.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, evidently you have not attended our meetings. We do not allow outbreaks in the audience, okay? So no boos, no applauding, no jeering, no cheering, okay? Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Bob Rudemeller. I'm from Floral City. I just finished the second time going through, or the second attendance of the Citizens Academy. I went there 3 years ago, unable to go through a few sessions, so I went back a second time. It's a very, very good program, and it gives you a tremendous amount of insight into all the departments and the various staff members. They do a fine job. Today, one of the main speakers was Mike Pendergast. I had no idea I'd be up here in front of you again today asking you to please consider his budget. But there are two very important things in the budget which are extremely important for the long-term safety, health, and welfare of this community. Number one is the salaries. He's having an extremely difficult time recruiting and retaining officers. So an increase in salaries is extremely important, just to maintain and not suffer a reduction in officers. But number two is he needs also desperately a number of an increase in the number of officers. Now, if you want to be proactive, you have to look at the future growth and where we're going. It takes Mike 6 months of training off the street of an officer just to bring him into service. He desperately needs a total of 44 officers to maintain status quo and maintain security. He can only afford to train 22. So you absolutely have to increase the budget, or acknowledge the budget for not only increasing salaries, but also paying for additional officers. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you take a look at the trends, and I'm sure you're all aware of the trends, but in 2020, there were only 723 building permits. Building permits is a good indication of how fast our population is growing. 2021, it went to 1,351, almost doubled in 1 year. I'm not sure what the metrics are going to be for 2022. So that's extremely important. The other thing is taking a look at the demand on the office itself. He is getting 600 calls per day, not per month, 600. It used to be only 20 minutes per call. Now it's taking him over 50 minutes per call. Why is it taking so long? It's taking so long because of a lot of them are drug related, and it takes a long time. So please, please, please consider passing those two components.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else to speak? Is there anyone else to speak at this time?
Hello, everyone. I am here to support the
Could you
sheriff's...
give us your name?
Sorry, dear. Elaine Clyde Lucanto. I am here to support the sheriff's budget. Our sheriff is amazing, and he's been doing some really great busts, drug busts, pedophiles. I mean, amazing. However, he needs the staff because we have that increased population. And here's an example. I have a neighbor lady that went missing once again, and thank God sheriff's team found her alive again. Praise the Lord. But she had stated that she could see them from the woods and they couldn't see her, which would bring me to maybe we could get him some additional equipment to help him to gauge the proximity so that we don't have a shooter like you just saw that poor woman have to deal with in the woods. Thank God that guy was not in the woods with my neighbor lady. My God, I can't even imagine. Horrible. So I'm asking you, please, stand with the sheriff. Give him what he needs to keep our community safe and our children safe. We love you all for everything that you're doing for this community. We know that you want to do the right thing, and we appreciate you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to address the board at this time? Anyone else? This will be the last call for public input. Okay, I'm going to close public input, and the board can discuss, respond to what they've heard. I will just make a few generic comments. I won't single out any particular speakers, but to kind of summarize where we are to this point, it seems like there's a lot of misinformation out there. At the last budget meeting, we told the sheriff his request was he wants no one in the state of Florida to be paid more in law enforcement than his deputies. Okay, he wants to pay them the same as the state troopers, the same that anybody else would pay, so there would not be a reason for anybody to leave Citrus County to go someplace else to be a deputy. Okay, we agreed with him, so we funded that request. We told the sheriff, we're funding your budget to pay your deputies starting October 1st the same and more than anybody else in the state of Florida. So those of you here saying that increase their salaries, this board's already agreed to do that. Okay, so I would ask on October 1st, we go out and talk to all of our deputies and make sure they're making the same as the Highway Patrol and everybody else in the state of Florida, because that's what the sheriff requested and that's what the board said. Okay, the second thing was the sheriff said he wanted 44 positions, but he would go with 22 this year and 22 next year. And then we said, well, you have 13 open right now that haven't been filled, that have been fully budgeted all year long. So we're thinking, and what we proposed, and that's what we moved forward with, was that if we fund all these positions at the same that everybody else is making and more, those 13 positions should be filled rapidly. Okay? Then, if at that point in time, if all this money generates itself, that everybody seems to think it will, then he could come in at a later date and say, here's the justification for now. I've increased the salaries, I've filled the 13 positions. Remember, that's in the budget as well. That you don't have those 13 deputies out there now, that they would be funded in the future. So, so we dealt with that. And that was, if you looked at the slide, the biggest increase in the budget is for the Sheriff's Department for that reason. Okay? What I've heard in the community is some people, as some have spoke tonight, and it's really quite an interesting trend. You know how many times I wrote down, you're killing us with taxes, give the sheriff more. You're killing us with taxes, give the bus drivers more. You're pricing us out of the homes, give more people more. Okay? We can't do that. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to do what most people do, and that's prioritize. I agree with most everything people said tonight. The sheriff runs a great department. We're proud of law enforcement. This board has always supported law enforcement in Citrus County, and this year's been no different. So the issue comes down to the sheriff already gets the lion's share of the general fund budget. That so if with all these other things that people want funded, you know, where's it going to come from? That would be the question. So don't speak from the audience, please. Okay. So with that said, what I said earlier, one gentleman took me to task from what he read in the Chronicle. Well, I won't even go into what I think of the Chronicle. That's a whole different story. But what I basically said is that the tentative millage rate was set. It cannot go higher. Okay? We can discuss tonight. We can cut taxes tonight. We can reduce spending tonight, but we cannot increase the millage rate tonight. It cannot go higher. Okay? So, yeah, from that perspective, it is a done deal. But, you know, we run into this all the time. And remember, Citrus County government is one taxing authority on your tax bill. So there's others on there as well as the school board, which deals with bus drivers and teachers and so on. And we have no authority over that. So, yeah, that's the big question we have to look at tonight. And I'll tell you a couple other things. Here's what's happened. If you looked at the list, we agreed to this increase, which comes, I think the average that has been calculated, we were told on an appraised $250,000 house is about $120 a year. So I looked at some friends and relatives' tax bills at about that example, and what the proposed budget would do would raise them about $120 a year on a $250,000 appraised house. So I asked them, what do you think of that? Is it worth it to you? And their answer was, if we trust you to spend the money the way you say you're going to, okay? Which simply means if we raise it, the percentage we talked about for the Baker Act facility, a Baker Act facility better be built, okay? If we fund the sheriff's deputies to the funding of $50,000 and more that he's requested, and by the way, that was for sworn officers, okay? Not non-sworn officers, okay? And it was also for 911 dispatch people. They were to be given the same raises, okay? So it was 911 and sworn officers, not non-sworn. So is it worth it to you to pay that for them? And they said yes. If we're assured on October 1st that those deputies get those raises, we can go along with it. The other one was the roads. You're talking about a millage increase for resurfacing roads. How do we know the money will go to roads? If it went to roads, we can deal with it. And then I believe, EMS. And EMS we've already dealt with. You've seen the quality of service and how that's improved. And we asked people before, there's a cost associated with that. Are you willing to pay it? So what I've heard, a lot of people, no one likes taxes going up, but from what I've heard, if the county assures folks that that's where the money is going to go, they can live with $120 a year. So, well, again, I'm sorry, but that's where we're at. So again, as it's pointed out, we're public servants. We work at the pleasure of the citizens. So that's why we invite people, I would say perhaps in March when the next budget cycle starts, that we invite all of you to come to those workshops and give us your ideas of where this money will come from, because it's all right there in black and white. I mean, we deal with the same thing day in and day out, and we're going to discuss it and see what the board wants to do. But you know what happened is everybody said road resurfacing was a big issue, so we addressed it. And the way we addressed it is we said, well, if the half-cent sales tax doesn't pass, we will do this millage increase. If it does, then that would go away. But whoever's talking in the audience, please stop it. Okay? Okay, we ask you to be courteous and civil. We do the same. We listen to you politely. We expect the same from you. Plus, it's distracting to the people around you. All right? So, with that said, we will go through the process tonight, see what the board wants to do, but we can't keep changing. In other words, we promised the people we'd fix the roads. So if we cut the budget tonight and to cut the taxes and take road resurfacing out, then we basically lied to those people that we said we'd do that. If we don't fund the sheriff's deputies to the level that we said that we would, then we basically lied to the people that we said we'd do that to. So it comes down to the fact that this is what's been set. This is what we have to work with, and it'll be up to us to determine, you know, how much does everybody get. And I can tell you this, that you saw earlier, you know, we know inflation is more than 5%, but that's what we factored in for increases this year. And I want to make one more comment, and I appreciate the graphs that the gentleman brought up. In case you didn't see it, these were the curves, the trend line of the county's budget. But the interesting thing about that is, again, the top line there, you know, we're up into the $650 million and even the $200 million in 14. See, that includes things like, our budget also includes reserves. So if we go from 10 million in reserves to 20 million in reserves, we increase the budget by $10 million. Okay, so the reserves count, utilities count, enterprise funds, the landfill, all that is included in there, and they generate their own fees to pay for their services. So I'm sure, you know, most people probably won't leave here happy tonight, but that's where we're at. And I will say this, Citrus County is a safe county. Would be nice to have more deputies, yes. My concern is, and I expressed this the last time, to keep the people that we have. You know, I think we agreed with the sheriff and what a lot of people have said. We train people, we train them well, we attract them, we want them to stay here. Let's pay them what it takes to do that, and we've agreed to do that. So that's my end of my speech for tonight. I'm going to listen to what the rest of the commissioners have to do, and at the end of this, we're going to have to take some action, commissioners. So who'd like to delve out there first?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Kennard.
Yes,
as you have done many times, you stole some of my thunder. I too support the sheriff. I support the sheriff's deputies. I felt like at our last budget meeting, we had great discussion about it, and you summed it up almost perfectly. The only part of it that I didn't hear were the non-sworn personnel, that they were getting the same raise as county employees got. You were correct that we were moving we were fully funding the 13 open positions at the higher salary range. We were fully funding the requested increases at the out at the EOC, and once those 13 positions are full, that we told the sheriff, come back to us. If you've got those positions full, come back to us, and let's have a conversation about adding more. So I feel like we had a very good conversation there, and we had we've had lots of good conversation about road resurfacing, and we came up with a plan on how we're going to fund this. I think it would be wrong for this board to kick that can down the road again. You know, if we put $5 million or $6 million or $8 million a year into road resurfacing, we're still falling behind $12, $13, $14 million every single year that we don't fully fund it. That is something that I really hope this board does not do. The lady that talked about underpaying the bus drivers, we have absolutely nothing to do with that. We have no say over what the bus drivers make. Let's see, there is a mention of a house on Hambletonian Drive that can't sell for $500,000. That house sold in 1999 for $44,000. It was transferred to a family member for $100 in 2019. If they sell that house for half of what they're asking for it, they'll still make a lot of money on it. So let's not just go by what somebody thinks their house is worth and say, you guys are causing the housing market to collapse. It may not be growing as fast as what it was, but it's not collapsing. Someone is set to do very, very well on that home. Let's see, there was another comment about catching up. I agree. We've had a lot of conversations about infrastructure up here. This board has been slowly putting money into the funds to try and catch up on our infrastructure. We're doing some of it. We have got a mountain to go. That is an area that is in need of funding. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it tonight. You're going to hear it at our last budget hearing, and you're going to hear it years going forward. We have got some big bills coming to catch up on taking care of our infrastructure. If this Amendment 3 passes, which it's largely expected to do, that's going to shift the tax burden to a lot of folks away from a lot of other folks. That will be on your ballot, I believe, in November. If it passes, be prepared to hear about what the Florida voters approve next year, because the cost to run the county, to run EMS, to run fire, to run the sheriff's office, to fund the public buildings, that will not go down. But the tax burden on that Amendment 3 will most definitely be shifted to those of us who will not qualify for that tax break. So I will leave my comments at that, and Mr. Chair, when we get to the time, I will be prepared to support the proposed tentative millage rate.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kennard. Anyone else? Next?
No, well said.
Yes.
Well said.
Commissioner Carnahan?
Well said. No, I mean, y'all hit the nail right on the head, and so with that, I don't have. You touched all the bases.
Okay, Mr. Davis, any comments?
Sure. Excellent speech, by the way. And you added the part about the non-sworn getting the same raises as county staff. The one thing you forgot was that they're going into the class and comp study with staff. So yes, we have been very pro-sheriff, and it's pretty awesome to be up here and face a sea of people that are by and large here to say, go Team Sheriff, and we're like, yes, we've already done that. So it's nice to make you happy on that. Let's see, Mr. Ferguson, those are some pretty alarming graphs. The only thing that I didn't see in there was the effect of population on that. So obviously, with more population, requires more budget to provide services, and then the tax burden is obviously spread out. Someone asked about if there's anything we can do to shift funds to take care of some of this. We are pretty cut down to the bone across the board in the county budget, is my estimation. The one thing we can do, I'm looking at this as a business person, is that we are incredibly weighted towards tourism and service economy jobs and retirees. We have to get more businesses here, and I'm not talking about retail that pays minimum wage to most of its people. I'm talking about real good career class jobs, which ends up spreading the tax burden across all citizens a lot easier. So it'll protect us going forward. So we've been working on that as well. I want everybody to imagine for a moment that you were fortunate enough to buy a piece of property years ago, and you've been sitting on it and you didn't know quite what you were going to do with it, but you had plans for it. And then the government comes along and says, we're going to take your property. All right, but we're going to run, do an appraisal on it, and because we are going to need to take it, we can avoid all the attorney fees, we can avoid all the eminent domain nonsense, and we're going to pay you just a little bit more than appraised value for your property. Now, whatever plans you may have had for that are out the window, right? But it's for the good of the people that we take it, and that is for the widening of County Road 491, and that is my colleague, Commissioner Schleybaugh. She owned property, or owns, I don't know where it is in the process, and I'm not sure if she's going to defend herself, but I will, because that's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. So you put yourself in her shoes and see if you would be mad at her. That's appraised value for commercial property right next to 491. All the other property owners got the same exact deal along 491. So if you're mad at Commissioner Schleybaugh, then you better go knock on some doors of all the owners up and down 491. But we're going to get our road built. Speaking of, impact fees do not do anything to support our current infrastructure. Impact fees are only to increase capacity. And lastly, I am really not on board with the 2.2 mils for road resurfacing right now. I am absolutely on board with getting our roads caught up on the resurfacing. But as a fiscal conservative, my number one thing is not keep taxes as low as humanly possible. It is take good care of your money. As the kids like to say, do the adulting thing. If you get a leak in your roof, it's much better, much cheaper to take care of that leak in the roof before you have to get a whole new roof, right? And that's the situation our roads are in now. And so my personal protocol on that is that there's 2 times that it's okay to put off taking care of your assets, only 2. One is if your revenue has tanked, which happened to us when Duke Energy closed their nuclear power plant. Absolutely, we had to cut. And 2 of my colleagues up here did a really admirable job of doing that. It's a totally admirable job. It had to be done. One is that one, and the other one is when the price to do something has suddenly ballooned by 200%. And that's the situation we're in, or not, it's doubled. It's gone up by 100%. That's the situation we're in with road resurfacing right now. So all of a sudden, we haven't been taking care of road resurfacing, and now we're going to take your tax dollars and get, a little over half the mileage that we would have with the same money. So my feeling is that this, to use the old phrase, this can has been kicked down the road already. I'm not sure what the hurry is when prices are so doggone high. So that's my situation, but I am pro-sheriff, so you can be happy with me about that. I'm done.
Mr. Schleybaugh, anything from you? And you don't have to defend yourself. If you do, we all do, because I think it passed unanimously to buy that property, so you don't have to even go there.
Thank you.
Don't talk from the audience, please. I asked you twice now. Please don't do that. Don't talk from the audience. Please
Thank
continue.
you. Thank you. I have spent time with the sheriff, the colonel, my own time. He told me that he would let you all know that I've done that. I don't know if he did. But my goal was to see what we could do to get him the money he needs to keep us protected. I feel good about what I have done to try to make this work. You know, when he asks for money for employees, and we say as a board, we want you to pay your employees so well that they don't leave this county, and that those other additional 20 people that he needs are going to see how well he pays his staff, that they come to our county in droves to take care of us. I think that is our most important thing to do, is to protect our citizens of Citrus County. So I appreciate you all coming here saying, give him the money that he needs. I believe that's what we did. I said that once he get those positions filled, I'll be the first one to make a motion to get him additional money to fill the 20 additional positions he needs. But that $4 million is a hit you would be taking right now when you've got other positions to fill. How are we going to do that? We need to be wise with the money so that you guys are protected, but we are not in, you know, I can only go with what he's given us to that he needs for his budget. He has said several times that it's under $250 a person to protect each one of our citizens, and that is right. But unfortunately, there's only a handful of us that are paying the taxes to pay that. So we have to cover the children, we have to cover the meth heads that aren't paying any taxes. And that's something we have to take a hit for as honest, God-fearing taxpayers. And so, you know, I was against taking over stormwater. I mean, I was against the stormwater fee. I was against EMS. I was against the MSBU for the Beverly Hills, which was an $8 increase. I've tried to vote against every increase, but guess what? Unfortunately, you want EMS, and it's working out well. And when they come to me and say, Commissioner Slaybaugh, EMS is doing well, the employees are happy, then I can say I was wrong to vote against it. But I was thinking about what the burden would be for the taxpayers to take that over out of private citizens. Out of private business hands. So I've gone over this budget and gone over this budget. I've spent time with the sheriff. I've done what I can. You all are telling us, give the sheriff what he needs. Take care of EMS. Take care of our roads. Make sure that we have a Baker Act facility. How are we going to pay for that if we don't raise the mills? I would love to say, keep everything, the millage rate that it's at, but you can't have it both ways. That's just the part of accounting that's how it works out. You have debits and credits, and if we have too much and there's only a few of us paying the bills, then let's try to get businesses in to take the weight off the homeowners. I'm a taxpayer. I pay an incredibly amount of tax. So we are at a point where we have to pay our bills. So if you want the sheriff to get his money and his employees to be paid the best that they can be paid, then we're going to have to deal with the money we have. And that is raising the millage, because we're not getting our roads paved. We don't have a Baker Act facility. We don't have the things that we need because we have been on pinching our pennies so over the last 8 years, really pinching the pennies so that your rates don't go up. As far as my property, I don't have to defend myself because I've owned that property for 20 years. I paid taxes on it for 20 years. Is it a waste of money to take and pay me $300,000? Yeah, because guess what? I didn't want to sell the piece of property. It was taken. But the acre across the street sold for $555,000. Mine sold for $327,000. You know why? Because I'm a commissioner, and I had to take it. If I was a private citizen, I would have fought them and fought them and fought them, and I would have gotten the $500,000. Is it my fault they want to widen the road and I've owned that property for 20 years? You know what? Don't widen the road. Put that money somewhere else. But don't sit there and act like I'm making money off you all because I didn't want to sell that. My husband didn't want to sell that. It was taken. So, thank you.
Okay, so, as I said, we started off this process, and as Mr. Oliver said, back in March, we've met, we've discussed, we've had numerous workshops. We've heard from the public at all those. We've heard from the constitutional officers. I've heard their presentations. So again, tonight, we have heard from the public again. The board has addressed that. Board, we're going to have only two motions to make. We've already heard from the public, so it's going to be a straight up or down vote, and the first one's going to be setting the tentative millage rate, and the second one's going to be setting the tentative budget based on those millage rates. So we'll need a motion, and I believe Commissioner Kennard asked for it to be able to make it, so we're going to be looking.
I will read the motion if that's okay with the board.
Oh, sure. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Kennard?
That's fine with
Okay.
me.
This is for the tentative millage rate?
Yes.
Okay, this will be the motion that we'll be voting yea or nay on, okay?
We need a motion to adopt the tentative millage rates for 22-23. The taxing authority is Citrus County, Florida. The FY 22-23 millage general fund, 6.5057, transportation, 0.7860, health department, 0.0614, total countywide 7.3531. Special districts are the library district, 0.3147, fire taxing district, 0, fire MSBU, or MSTU, I'm sorry, 0.5780, stormwater MSTU, 0. Total special districts, 0.8927. Total proposed tentative millage, 8.2458. The proposed tentative aggregate millage rate of 8.1407 is 13.64 increase over the aggregate rollback rate of 7.2074 mils. We would take a motion to adopt the tentative budget for 2022-23, and we would announce that there will be a final budget hearing Tuesday, September 27th, 2022 at 5:01 in County Commission Board Chambers, 110 North Apopka Avenue, Inverness, Florida.
Okay, so that's the motion that we'd be looking for?
That would be my motion, yes, sir.
Okay, so the motion is made by Commissioner Kennard. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Carnahan. No further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Nay.
That passes 4-1. Okay, next we need to set the tentative budget. Mr. Oliver, is there any special language for that?
We don't.
Okay, so we'll be looking to.
We just need a motion to approve the tentative budget.
So this is the motion I'd be looking for. Request the board adopt and authorize the chairman to execute the resolution adopting the 2022-2023 tentative budget for the countywide budget, library services, fire taxing district, fire rescue, EMS, MSTU, and stormwater MSBU. Is that correct? That would be the motion. So
I'd make that motion.
Commissioner Kennard makes that motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slabaugh. Okay, so any further board discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That passes 5-0. Okay, and you've already announced our final budget hearing, which will be September 27th and 5:01. And our next regular meeting of the board will be September 13th at 1 p.m. in the board chamber. And that concludes our business for tonight, and we're adjourned.